Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 152 based on novel. So let's start. Another bang came from Hong prison. As the dust and dirt were kicked into the air, the silver sword proudly let out a sword hymn and flew off into the distance. Wang Lin looked at the direction of the Emperor's sword as it flew away, and he faintly smiled. Why is this sword acting like a child? It can't find me, so now it has a grudge with Hong prison. How many times has it been? 10 times. Mo Lehai sat opposite of Wang Lin. He could only bitterly smile, but at the same time he also admired Wang Lin. If it wasn't for the fact that he was looking at Wang Lin, he wouldn't have been able to find Wang Lin at all. This was proven true by the fact that the Emperor's sword had passed by many times and still wasn't able to find Wang Lin. Thinking about how he didn't even notice Wang Lin leaving the hole a few days ago, his evaluation of Wang Lin increased a lot. In addition to all of this, after Wang Lin came back from Hong prison, Mo Lehai felt like Wang Lin was like a different person. This was especially true whenever he looked at the flashing symbol on Wang Lin's forehead. This symbol could make his heart jump. He didn't ask for details, but he guessed that for Wang Lin to anger the Emperor's sword, Wang Lin had to have either succeed in his spell or had a fortunate encounter. What is your current strength? How is your strength compared to back when you were in ancient demon city? After pondering for a long time, Mo Lehai decided to ask. He wanted to know what position he could get in the Demon General competition. There are 2 chances during the Demon General competition. If the Demon General loses, then their helper can fight instead. However, there is a requirement for the helper too. That person can't be a native and has to be a foreigner. This is why the Demon General chose Wang Lin. Wang Lin's voice was calm as he slowly said, even without that palm, I can still win against you. Mo Lehai stared at Wang Lin. After a long time, he laughed and said, good. With those words, it looks like my effort wasn't wasted. Brother Wang, the Demon Emperor will personally be at the Demon General competition in half a month. If you do well and I nominate you, you will for sure get the position of Demon General. Wang Lin smiled but didn't speak. Mo Lehai pondered a bit and then said, in a serious tone, Brother Wang, you need to return early today. Tonight, I'll take you to meet someone important. Wang Lin nodded, then he stood up and said, Brother Mo can rest assured. The 2 of them looked at each other and both laughed. Mo Lehai felt very happy and smiled. Then this older brother won't disturb you. You go listen to the zither music. Wang Lin listening to the zither music by the river was not some secret, so Mo Lehai naturally knew. Wang Lin walked out of the Mo mansion. Wang Lin silently sat on the side of the river with a jar of wine that he would occasionally drink from. He looked very calm, and his heart was at peace. During this period of time, Wang Lin would sit here every day, waiting for the boat to pass so he could hear the zither music. However, the music had changed greatly from before. It was now a happy song that hid the sorrow deep within. But Wang Lin didn't try to change it by force. He was just a passerby and viewed the various emotions with the mentality of a passerby. Even until now, he didn't know what the woman looked like. None of this was important. What was important was that he was listening, earnestly listening. When listening to the zither music that touched the sealed memories in his heart, he had a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Wang Lin's heart was extremely calm right now. The zither music arrived before the boats appeared. This seemingly cheerful zither music revealed sadness and helplessness. Following the zither music, the boats slowly arrived. The zither player at the head of the boat still had her back toward Wang Lin. Her jade-like hand moved, creating the zither music that slowly diffused into the air. Today there was only one person sitting before her. This was a young man about 27 or 28 years old. He was wearing a green robe, and although he looked ordinary, he gave off a very clean feeling. There wasn't any demonic spiritual energy about him as he sat there drinking fine wine and listening to the zither music. The young man placed down the cup and softly asked, Can you not play like this? I want to hear your music. The woman stopped playing. After pondering for a long time, she nodded, and her jade hands began to play once more. The sadness from the music gradually echoed through the area as if the music itself had fused with the ripples created by the boat and spread to the sides of the river. The ripples stopped just before reaching Wang Lin, but the music didn't stop and entered Wang Lin's ears. The youth on the boat slowly closed his eyes and carefully savored the sadness and pain in the zither music. Wang Lin also closed his eyes and became immersed in the zither music. It was as if the music had fused into his mind and wouldn't disappear for a while. The two of them, one of them on the boat and one of them on the shore. Although both were comprehending different things, there was now a connection. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked toward the boat for the first time. His gaze fell on the woman and then moved to the young man. At this moment, this person also opened his eyes and looked at Wang Lin. The two of them looked at each other for a while before Wang Lin raised his jar as a gesture and took a big gulp. The youth on the boat revealed a smile as he raised his cup and drank it all in one gulp. The boat gradually went off into the distance and disappeared from Wang Lin's view. Only the faint zither music would still float in from the distance. The woman on the boat playing the zither turned around toward the shore in the distance. In her eyes, everything was still dark. The youth put down the wine cup and softly said, "There is a person there." Ming Xian didn't speak. She turned her head around and continued to play the sad music. The young man faintly smiled. What an interesting little fellow. It was night when Wang Lin returned to the Mo mansion. Shortly after, he and Mo Lehai left together and entered Xian City. Although Xian City was about the same size as Hong City, it looked completely different. The city was lit up, and among the pedestrians, there were more armored soldiers. Mo Lehai stopped outside a mansion in Xian City, then he took out a letter which he passed to the guard outside. The guard took the letter and immediately went inside the mansion. Wang Lin examined the mansion and his gaze stopped at the plaque on the mansion's entrance. Vice Commander-in-Chief Xian's Mansion. The 8 Commander-in-Chiefs have the same names as the 8 cities of Sky Demon City, but their mansions don't have the word Vice. This is the mansion of Xian City's Vice Commander-in-Chief. After Mo Lehai said this, he hesitated for a bit and added, Xian City's Vice Commander-in-Chief has a good personal relationship with the Demon Emperor. Wang Lin nodded. Mo Lehai had already explained in detail about how 2 Vice Commander-in-Chiefs will be chosen during this Demon General competition, and the importance of it all. Shortly after, the guard came back out and respectfully said, General Mo, Lord Vice Commander-in-Chief welcomes you. Mo Lehai's expression became serious as he walked in, and Wang Lin unhurriedly followed. Under the escort of the guard, Mo Lehai and Wang Lin entered the courtyard. The Vice Commander-in-Chief will meet General there. The guard paused and pointed at the archway. After that, he respectfully left. Mo Lehai was calm as he walked past the archway with Wang Lin. Inside was a flower garden filled with many exotic flowers. The fragrance of the flowers washed over the two of them. A man wearing purple robes was standing with his back to the two of them and looking up at the sky. He stood there as if he had fused with the surroundings. Wang Lin only took one glance before withdrawing his gaze. This person's cultivation level was equal to that of an early-stage ascendant cultivator who was at the peak and ready to break through at any time. However, until he actually makes that breakthrough, he will still too far from being able to compare to a mid-stage ascendant cultivator. Mo Lehai took a deep breath and respectfully said, Mo Lehai greets Lord Vice Commander-in-Chief. That person didn't speak, he didn't even move at all. He just stood there looking up at the sky. The surroundings were completely silent. This silence unconsciously transformed into a pressure that surrounded the area. Demon General Mo Lehai was calm, unmoved, and remained quietly standing. As for Wang Lin, cultivators always fought against the heavens, so how could he collapse under this kind of pressure? Wang Lin's expression was calm, even when he encountered the All-Seer, he was still calm. This person was merely at the early stage of ascendant, far weaker than Zhu Qzi and Sichu Nan. Wang Lin's calmness and Mo Lehai's unmoving nature silently dispersed this pressure. The purple-robed man turned around. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at the two. He looked at them as if he was an elder looking at the younger generation, and he spoke with a tone of superiority. To be able to stay calm under my pressure, not bad. Mo Lehigh, how confident are you in securing the position of Vice Commander-in-Chief? The purple-robed man spoke very directly and went straight to the point. Mo Lehigh pondered a bit and seriously replied, 40%. Oh. The purple-robed man's eyes narrowed and he slowly said, among the many demon generals that have come to visit me, you have the least amount of confidence. Mo Lehigh pointed at Wang Lin and said, adding this person, I'm 90% confident. The purple-robed man's gaze landed on Wang Lin. His eyes were calm without any fluctuation. It was as if Wang Lin was only an ant in his eyes. He had the qualifications to look at Wang Lin like so, because he was a vice commander-in-chief, good friends with the demon emperor, and had almost 1 million ranks of demonic spiritual energy, which was to equal early-stage ascendant cultivators. He was also on the verge of a breakthrough, making him far above all the other demon generals, and he was merely waiting to become a real commander-in-chief. In his eyes, Wang Lin was merely Mo Lehigh's follower. He didn't even consider Mo Lehigh worthy, so how could he even care about a follower of Mo Lehigh? If it wasn't for the fact that he knew that the demon emperor had his eyes on this Mo Lehigh, he wouldn't even have met Mo Lehigh because in his view, Mo Lehigh wasn't qualified. Instead of meeting Mo Lehigh, he'd rather enjoy the flowers. In Sky Demon City, almost everyone knew how much the Xian Vice Commander-in-Chief liked flowers, especially exotic flowers. He not only liked flowers but also cherished them greatly. If any of the servants accidentally touched a flower, they would be kicked out of the mansion. If anyone dared to harm the flowers, he would take their head. The purple-robed man was a bit impatient in his heart, but he didn't reveal any of it. Display your most powerful spell. Let me see why Mo Lehigh thinks you can increase his chance by 50%. The purple-robed man's voice was still calm. In his view, this person was only the late stage of soul transformation, and he would never consider someone like this worthy of his attention. He didn't underestimate Wang Lin, it was more like he had a bland disregard of Wang Lin. Use your full power. If you can make me move, then consider yourself qualified. The purple-robed man looked into the sky and didn't even look at Wang Lin. Wang Lin coldly looked at this person, and without any hesitation, he raised his hand. The slaughter energy gathered on his hand and he pointed forward. Countless slivers of slaughter energy suddenly burst out from his hand. At this moment, a storm of killing intent suddenly surrounded the area. 2,000 strands of slaughter energy burst out from Wang Lin and charged toward the purple-robed man like raging dragons. At the start, the purple-robed man's expression was still the same as before, completely ignoring Wang Lin's existence. However, after an instant, his expression changed as the 2,000 strands of slaughter energy closed in on him. The purple-robed man retreated without any hesitation, then demonic spiritual energy burst out from his body and took the form of a demonic tiger. However, the moment the demonic tiger took form, it was immediately pierced through by the strands of slaughter energy. The strands of slaughter energy landed directly on the chest of the purple-robed man. The purple-robed man's expression changed greatly as he backed up once more. He even completely disregarded the flowers and stepped right on top of them. At this moment, he had no time to think about the flowers, as all the hair on his body stood up and he was concentrating on how to resist this spell. With his cultivation, had he prepared, he wouldn't have been in such a sorry state, but he was looking down on Wang Lin too much. This spell was something that he might not have even been able to withstand even fully prepared. Right now it was too late for him to even feel regret. The blue light screen of the demonic armor appeared 7 inches away from his body, but the moment it appeared, it was hit by the 2,000 strands of slaughter energy and was forced back. Seeing that the armor was about to be pushed back to 3 inches away, the purple-robed man let out a roar. The vein on his head was bulging as he retreated once more, stepping on top of countless flowers that he used to cherish. But the demonic armor couldn't withstand the 2,000 strands of slaughter energy at all, so it suddenly collapsed. 2,000 strands of slaughter energy entered his body and cycled once through his body. Then Wang Lin waved his hand and the slaughter energy left the purple-robed man through his pores and returned to Wang Lin's hand. The purple-robed man's face was extremely pale, and Wang Lin suddenly became a completely different existence. With his peak late-stage soul transformation cultivation and 2,000 strands of slaughter energy, it wasn't hard for him to battle early-stage ascendant cultivators at all. Very good. You have the qualifications. The purple-robed man took a deep breath as he forced himself to reveal a calm expression and squeeze out a smile like an elder looking at the younger generation. Mo Lehai's expression was strange. He suppressed the shock in his heart as he quickly led Wang Lin away. After making sure that the two had already gone far away, the purple-robed man could no longer endure it and coughed out a mouthful of blood. The servant who came in from outside immediately panicked when he saw the scene before him. I won't meet anyone for 3 months, I'm going into closed-door cultivation. After leaving those words, the purple-robed man disappeared. After leaving the Xian Vice-Commander-in-Chief's mansion, Mo Lehai's eyes were filled with joy. Many times he wanted to speak, but he hesitated, and in the end he didn't say a word. After returning to the Mo mansion, Mo Lehai took deep breath, his eyes filled with sincerity, and he said, Brother Wang, I'll be depending on you during the Demon General competition. I will remember this favor. This was the first time Mo Lehai had spoken to Wang Lin in this tone. In his mind, Wang Lin was no longer equal to him, but someone who could force the Vice-Commander-in-Chief to retreat several steps with just one spell. Mo Lehai believed that with Wang Lin's help, he could sweep the competition. He understood Wang Lin's spell the most and was extremely shocked. Along the way back, he kept thinking about that spell and imagined himself facing against it. In the end, no matter what, he would lose. Wang Lin's expression wasn't arrogant or proud, he remained calm. At this moment, he smiled and said, Brother Mo, since I agreed on this matter, I'll definitely help you. Mo Lehai laughed. He was obviously very happy and smiled. Brother Wang, I have some ancient wine that's been buried for 500 years. Tonight, the two of us will have a drink. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he smiled as he nodded. At this moment, at the sword pavilion at the center of Sky Demon City, a person wearing yellow robes appeared. He looked at the Imperial Sword Pavilion and smiled. Played enough? Don't go to Hong Prison anymore, settle down for a few days. The silver sword inside the formation released several bursts of sword hymns as if it was unwilling to give up. The person laughed. If you keep being naughty, I'll send you to the Dragon Lake. The Emperor's sword suddenly stopped making sounds as if it had lost all its arrogance and let out a few feeble sword hymns. Although it was acting like this, its anger toward the food that dared to provoke it became even stronger. After the Emperor's sword stopped going to Hong Prison, the Scarlet World at the bottom slowly recovered. More felons were thrown in, and the cycle of slaughter began once more. A black-haired man sat in the blood pool in silence. Strands of killing intent continued to enter his body, and the killing aura around him became stronger and stronger. He would occasionally raise his head, and there was a hint of clarity inside his bloodshot eyes. I must escape, like him. When the slaughter began, everyone in the blood pool flew into the air and began killing each other. The black-haired man was like the god of slaughter. His eyes were filled with thick killing intent and his moves were vicious as he swept through like a raging dragon. After the endless slaughter finished, there was only the black-haired man left in the sky. The people that had just revived all had a calm expressions and didn't even look up at the sky. The blood mist around the black-haired youth was hundreds of feet wide. He took a deep breath and revealed a rare hint of clarity before bolting toward the exit. When he only moved several feet, there was a flash of silver light, and the silver dragon suddenly appeared and threw out its huge claw. The black-haired man inside the blood mist revealed a bitter smile. He used a voice only he could hear and softly said, "Explode." With one word, his entire body suddenly exploded. Even the blood mist around him exploded, and the force met the silver dragon's claw. A loud echo filled the area. The silver dragon retracted its claws and there were many injuries on its claw. This was like pouring oil on fire, as the silver dragon's hatred for Wang Lin ignited once more. As for the black-haired man, he revived at one of the blood pools, then he lowered his head and pondered. The silver dragon let out an angry roar and then its gaze landed on the black-haired man. It let out another roar and a ray of sword energy shot out at the blood pool. The blood pool shattered and the black-haired youth inside died. This cycle repeated. Every time he revived, the silver dragon killed him. After doing this many times, the silver dragon revealed a proud expression and then disappeared. Since the demon emperor wouldn't let it go to Hong prison and it was told to stay still for a few days, it decided to vent its anger here. Let's not talk about Hong prison for now. There was only half a month left until the battle between the demon generals. There was an oppressive aura around the entire Sky Demon City, and the various demon generals were making their own preparations. Aside from the normal preparations, there were also a lot of behind-the-scenes preparations. Whether it was making secret deals or secretly making moves, the demon emperor completely ignored it all. Although there was order in the demon spirit land, hidden in this order was endless chaos. This was a chaotic time. The battle between the demon generals was very important because this was a heavenly opportunity for the demon generals to move up. If they missed this chance, it might mean they will forever be stuck at the rank of demon general. As a result, these demon generals cared about this matter to an unprecedented degree. Becoming vice commander-in-chief means having the qualifications to become a commander-in-chief in the future. In order to achieve this qualification, any method will be used. Although it was a time of chaos, there was still order in this chaos. There was only one rule, and that was that the demon generals couldn't have life and death battles, or else they would be disqualified from the demon general competition. As a result, all of the schemes fell on the helpers of each demon general. Killing the helpers is the same as breaking that demon general's right arm, and for some it even crushes their means to win. Killing the demon general's helpers became the public fight. And the fight in secret was to assassinate the demon generals. Demon generals couldn't kill each other, but their helpers could. They could even hire assassins to do so, and this wouldn't break the rule. However, although this wasn't against the rules, it went against the demon emperor's bottom line. So unless the person who killed the demon general had heavenly cultivation, even if you gave that person wings, it would be hard for that person to escape. They will die without a doubt. After all, the death of a demon general was a big matter for the country. It wouldn't be wrong to say that anyone who relies on assassination is completely desperate. These battles in public and in secret became even more intense as the competition drew closer. Mo Lehigh rarely went out and spent most of the day in closed-door cultivation. This allowed him to stay in peak condition and also deliberately avoid many assassination attempts. At the same time, he also set up a formation and arranged many of his old subordinates with high cultivation levels to guard him. During this oppressive time, only Wang Lin was completely calm. His life didn't change. He went out every morning and sat by the river to listen to the zither music. It was as if all this oppression and movement before the great battle were just like passing clouds. Only the zither music was important to him. Every time he heard the zither music, he would be completely immersed in it and would go through a strange experience. Every day, his heart was being cleansed. Wang Lin wasn't worried about whether Mo Lehigh would be assassinated or not. Mo Lehigh was extremely cunning and had far more hands to play than what he currently showed. Wang Lin was very clear about this matter after interacting with him for this long. If Mo Lehigh didn't have his methods, there would be no way for him to still be alive while being at the top of demon generals. Wang Lin listened to the zither music from the boat with his eyes closed as he sat beside the river. He picked up the wine jug only to find that it was already empty. He let out a sigh as he opened his eyes and silently looked up at the sky. Every time he heard this zither music, his heart would tremble and he would have the vague feeling of a breakthrough. Unfortunately, his comprehension of the heavens was too ethereal. While listening to the zither music, Wang Lin slowly immersed himself in the music and silently experienced it. The celestial spiritual energy in his body was already used to hiding itself. After all, there was still the demon emperor's sword looking for him. However, just at this moment, he frowned. He was interrupted during his comprehension of the heavens and enjoyment of the music. "You are Mo Lehigh's vice-general?" A voice filled with contempt forced itself through the zither music and completely shattered the mood of the music. A black-robed man was standing 100 feet from Wang Lin. He had his hand before his chest and a snake-like sword circling him. There was also a trace of impatience on his face. "You may attack. Killing you would be the same as taking one of Mo Lehigh's arms." Wang Lin put down the wine jug, but he didn't get up or even look at the person. He pointed his right thumb at the person and the finger of death suddenly shot out as a ray of black light. The moment the black light came out, the surrounding grass immediately withered and the life force from the grass silently entered the black light. The black light quickly closed in on the black-robed man. His expression suddenly changed and he quickly retreated a few steps. Then the flying sword circling him shot toward the black light in a flash. However, at the moment it touched the black light, the sword began to crack from the tip. The black light pierced through the sword until even the hilt collapsed. The flying sword was turned into countless small fragments in almost an instant. The black-robed man revealed a look of disbelief as he continued to retreat. Unfortunately, he was too slow. The black light broke through the flying sword and landed on the black-robed man's chest. This person's body was thrown far away in an arc, and blood mist erupted from his body on the way. Even after the man fell to the ground, the blood mist stayed in the sky. When the black-robed man fell on the ground, his eyes revealed a hint of remorse before they went completely dim. At the same time, a strand of grey gas came out from his body and disappeared into Wang Lin's right hand. This person wasn't a foreigner but a person of demon spirit land. This person's cultivation level wasn't high, he was only at the level of a late-stage soul formation cultivator. He was probably sent by some demon general that didn't know him as a way of scouting him. Wang Lin continued to listen to that zither music, on the second floor of a two-story restaurant 10,000 feet across the river from Wang Lin. Two people sat by the window, and their gazes turned toward Wang Lin. Both men were wearing black robes. One of them was older while the other was a bit young. The older man said, "Very strong." The young man's eyes lit up as he slowly said, "That person should be at the soul transformation stage. No matter what his cultivation level is, since the ancestor wants to catch him, he can't get away." The older man picked up his cup and took a drink. The older man then said, "Send the people over, don't make the ancestor wait." The young man faintly smiled and gently knocked the table. With that knock, one of the several people wearing black robes that was sitting on the first floor stood up. This person was middle-aged and had star-like eyes. He walked out of the restaurant and flew toward Wang Lin in a ray of sword energy. Wang Lin was sitting beside the river. The boat was halfway across the river, but bursts of zither music still entered his ears. He was completely immersed in it, and his face revealed a sense of peace. The sword energy carried a powerful killing intent as it flew toward Wang Lin. Right now there wasn't a single person within a few kilometers, it was as if this area was deserted. The boat on the river seemed to have noticed this abnormality and immediately sped up. The sword energy suddenly closed in and crossed the 10,000 feet in an instant. All of the grass around Wang Lin tilted to one side as if there was a powerful wind. The strong bursts of whistling sounds mixed with the zither music had its own charm. Wang Lin still didn't turn his head or even looked at the person. He raised his right thumb at the incoming sword energy and once again used the finger of death. The ray of black light shot out once more. It was extremely quick as it charged at the sword energy. In almost an instant, the two sides collided. A groan came from the sword energy as it collapsed, revealing the figure of a man. His face was extremely pale, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood before retreating like crazy. Almost without any hesitation, he retreated even more. However, the finger of death was too fast, so it caught up to the person in a flash and imprinted in his chest. The man let out a roar and released a large amount of demonic spiritual energy. His body was forced to land, but he continued to be pushed back. In the end, the demonic spiritual energy around him collapsed, and he coughed out blood once more and fell to the ground. A strand of grey gas flew out from his body toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin still didn't bother to pay attention to where the finger of death went and continued to silently listen to the zither music. In the restaurant 10,000 feet away, the young man immediately stood up and stared at Wang Lin on the other side of the river. After a long time, he took a deep breath and then sat back down. Only the older man's expression was still the same as before. The younger man said, in a serious tone, "He has restrained his energy, so we can't see his exact cultivation level." The older man stared at Wang Lin and slowly said, "This person's cultivation level should be at the mid-stage of soul transformation. Only then could he have killed number 4, who had the same cultivation level as an early-stage soul transformation cultivator like this." Send number 3. The young man's eyes lit up, revealing a hint of battle intent. He shook his head and softly said, "No need to send number 3, I'll go." As he spoke, he stood up once more and looked at Wang Lin. "You?" The older man frowned. "Don't forget, I'm number 2. The young man walked down the restaurant. Number 2's cultivation level is equivalent to a late-stage soul transformation cultivator, and he is only a sliver away from the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. With him going, this battle has no suspense. The older man picked up the wine cup and didn't even look across the river anymore. As the young man walked out from the restaurant, a breeze from the river blew his clothes back. He walked against the wind as he slowly made his way toward Wang Lin. He walked across the 10,000 feet distance very calmly, as if he was walking in his own garden. Every step he took increased his aura's strength as if it would continue to increase endlessly. He stopped 300 feet from Wang Lin. The current him was completely surrounded by demonic spiritual energy, but what was strange was that there was some celestial spiritual energy mixed in with his demonic spiritual energy. The fusion of celestial and demonic spiritual energies created a strange aura that slowly filled the area. He stood there like he was the master of this space, as if he could make the world change colors with a wave of his hand. Wang Lin didn't look at the person. The boat on the river slowly disappeared into the distance, and the sound of the zither music slowly entered his ears and gave him a special feeling. As for the person 300 feet away, Wang Lin casually waved his hand and the finger of death appeared once more. The finger of death materialized as a ray of black light once more before Wang Lin and shot toward the young man like a bolt of lightning. The young man chuckled. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and his right hand formed a seal. The celestial demonic spiritual energy around him immediately condensed near his hand and formed a ball of light the size of his fist. The moment the ball of light appeared was when the finger of death arrived. The two sides collided without any hesitation, and the black light of the finger of death seemed to be absorbed into the ball of light. The young man said, "You overestimate yourself." However, just as he finished speaking, his expression changed. A strand of black mist suddenly appeared in the ball of light. In almost an instant, the black mist filled the ball and it turned into a black ball of light. At the same time, cracks appeared on the ball. The young man's expression turned gloomy as the ball shattered and the black light charged directly at him. As he quickly retreated, his hand formed seals, and one by one balls of light appeared. In almost an instant, more than 100 balls of light appeared and went to block the ray of black light. The black light continued to disappear and reappear while the balls of light continued to collapse one after the other. However, every time a ball of light collapsed, the black light would become dimmer. When there were only 8 balls of light left, the ray of black light completely disappeared. The youth's forehead was covered in sweat as he took a deep breath, looked at Wang Lin, who still hadn't looked at him yet, and said, "I presume this black light spell is your strongest move." "I admit this spell is indeed powerful, no wonder numbers 4 and 5 died. However, now that your strongest spell was broken by me, I want to see what other moves you have." At this moment, the boat gradually disappeared into the distance and the zither music disappeared from Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin stood up and turned toward the young man. He suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a trace of red within them. Then slaughter aura shot out from Wang Lin's eyes like a sharp sword. Rumble. It was as if countless thunderbolts had suddenly appeared in the young man's mind. It was as if real thunderbolts had appeared above the peaceful river. A monstrous killing intent shot out from Wang Lin's eyes and immediately pierced through the young man's celestial demonic spiritual energy, entered through his eyes, and imprinted into his mind. His body stiffened as if he had been hit by lightning and his limbs began to tremble uncontrollably. The young man's heart trembled and his scalp felt numb. There was a sensation of pain from between his brows as if a sword had pierced through his forehead. The young man could clearly hear his heartbeat quickly speed up, and he felt like his mind was about to collapse. Then his body turned cold as if he was facing an enemy naked. The powerful aura he had created as he walked over completely collapsed with just one gaze. All of the black-robed men that were looking over from the first floor of the restaurant revealed looks of shock. Although they were all far away, it felt like they were right there at this moment. The sweat coming out from their bodies immediately soaked their clothes. With their cultivation levels, they had no idea why this happened, why a gaze from 10,000 feet away could make it feel like there was a sword at their throats and make it feel like death was closing in on them. It was as if that man 10,000 feet away had turned into the god of slaughter. On the second floor, the older man's eyes lit up, then he quickly stood up and immediately caused the table before him to explode. His calm face suddenly changed greatly. The celestial demonic spiritual energy in his body surged like a raging dragon by instinct. Everything he did was subconscious. He felt like if he hadn't resisted against that gaze, he would have been seriously injured and would have died. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. The killing intent from that gaze just now was also solid. Tao of slaughter. This is the Tao of slaughter. How many people has that person killed to have the kind of gaze where the killing intent almost feels solid? He is very strong, very strong. His gaze toward Wang Lin became very serious, and he only ever looked this serious when he was facing the celestial guardians. Simply too terrifying. Although my cultivation level is the same as his, I'm definitely not a match for him. I must quickly leave. This person didn't hesitate. His body moved and was about to teleport, but he was immediately forced out of the void. His expression changed greatly, and he no longer tried to teleport and immediately got up. The celestial demonic spiritual energy he released at this moment made the second floor collapse. He burst out from the restaurant and was about to flee no matter what the cost. But he immediately stopped in the sky as cold sweat came out from his entire body. Wang Lin was 10 feet before him, calmly looking at him. You disturbed my cultivation and still want to leave? The older man revealed a bitter smile, and his eyes contained a hint of madness. Without any hesitation, he touched the seal he was never willing to touch in his life, and the celestial demonic spiritual energy in his body immediately exploded. A destructive aura surrounded the collapsing restaurant, creating a series of rumbling sounds. After the loud explosion, everything within 1,000 feet was completely silent. Wang Lin appeared 1,000 feet away. Although his expression was normal, there was a hint of gloominess in his eyes. He gently patted the dust off his cloth and then walked into the distance. On the river, the young man's body slowly fell as strands of grey gas came out from his body and chased after Wang Lin. This video will end here.